Oh, finally, I'm up here. I am happy to be sharing with you today. It's been a while. John, your meditation was great. It's helped me really calm myself, so I'll just take another breath here and the ideas that I've strung together for this talk may be a bit far-fetched, so I just invite you to play with me on these concepts of space and time. It is a peek into the mind of a religious scientist. I have my little medallions on and my earrings. And I love thinking in pictures and stories. I had a beautiful awareness event on my drive back from Idaho in December, and I immediately knew it was going to turn into a talk, but I had no idea where it was really going to take me. So it has been a journey of 6 weeks morphing and tweaking, and I'm finally here in front of you at the final destination. It started in a snowstorm on a dark, cold, wintry morning. I knew the first few hours were going to be hairy when I saw a semi-truck jackknifed in Boise on the freeway. Should I turn back? I thought immediately, but no, I couldn't. I had already consulted the weather reports. My brother had just passed away, and Ray had been in the hospital for several weeks. But the weather report did say it was going to clear up, and as soon as I got out of Idaho into Utah, that's exactly what it did, and I was able to relax the grip on the steering wheel, and I made it to Rock Springs, Wyoming that evening, and the snow squall was behind me. When I woke in the morning, I hit the road ready for a nice long day of driving, when much to my chagrin, they closed I-80. I had to turn around, and I grumbled my way all the way back to the motel. I had no idea how long I was going to be stuck there. It was not in my control, so I just decided to take a nap. 3 hours later, I woke, and the Wyoming Department of Transportation just opened the freeway. So I got me my nap, I'm well rested, and I'm ready to hit the road. And the road is in great shape. No ice, no packed snow. The biggest threat were the high winds and the arched dynamic messaging signs that go across the freeway kept announcing high winds, be cautious, slow your speed, and that's what I did. It was like headline memes of social media for the freeway. And I'm thankful to Wyoming for protecting me in my trip. Oops. In front of me, the truck-filled freeway, clear pavement, and above me stretched the blue, infinite, spacious sky, interspersed with interesting, puffy clouds. I'm gripping the steering wheel, afraid of being blown over. I go a few more miles. I look up again, and the sky is still soft blue, something like the color of your shirt, Lori. And the clouds look the same, puffy and gentle. I'm beginning to feel a bit of a disconnect of two different world views. Up there, in the atmosphere and the clouds seemingly standing still in its peace and calm. But down here, I'm hanging on for dear life. Where are these high winds? As I looked across the vast Wyoming landscape, I saw no trees, just patches of scrub brush which are too small to see any blowing action. I look up again at the serene skies and to the sides of me where is this wind? Basically, the reported 60 to 80 mile-an-hour gusts are invisible to my eyes. At times, the loose, dry snow did swoosh across the freeway, and I felt my van get pushed once or twice, but the experience was really very smooth and clear. My caution was wedded to the weather reports and those DMS signs that kept reminding me of the wild and dangerous winds threatening my safe passage. But I was not feeling that in my personal experience. The fear and worry had a hard time rising up in me because of what I was seeing or not seeing. I decided to relax my grip and expand the belief of the calm, clear skies up above and bring it on down to my freeway experience. I let it become the predominant belief in my mind that the wind gusts are not present, and therefore they're not present for all those big tractor trailers that were often surrounding me. Soon the wind did die down as I got further east, and the rest of the trip was very nice, very long, and safe. So this event gets me thinking, I am moving, right? The speedometer says 65, but the calm stillness up in the sky and the clouds not moving made me feel like I was standing still. I'm sure many of you have felt that. I utilized that vision as I was driving here from Brooklyn this morning. But a journey, I did a little research on that, and it's associated with jour, like soup du jour, the journal and the diary that we write in every day, or the work of journalists who recount the events of the day. It now means more of a going from point A to point B physically on a map. I think it could describe a relationship journey where it has a beginning and an end for many different reasons, emotion, intention, or tragedy. A job or a career has its obvious beginnings and endings, so it could be a journey. I also think that opinions, beliefs, and attitudes, social prescriptions can have a journey with a limited span from when and how they started to when and how they end or evolve into a new set of thoughts and practices. Our physical human lives are a journey, bookended by the first breath of our lungs and the last breath that we exhale. But if you believe that we have a life thread that is infinite, then our human journey is but a line segment on the infinite lifeline that goes on forever in both directions. But we know that linear thinking is not what it's all about. So when we add the third dimension of space, we can playfully speculate that we are a dot or a point, and we have an infinite number of rays originating from ourself. Here, I believe, is the concept of oneness. Think about almost 8 billion people on the planet, and everyone has a position. We are all points that act as the center of stars, and we are all showing up as infinite threads of life. It is inevitable then that we are constantly intersecting with everyone else's rays, lines, and line segments in infinite possible combinations of relationships and events. This alone is fascinating to me, but what if we add the effects of time? This is where I stumble. I admit I don't have a lot of background and experience in this quantum theory, relativity stuff. But I started down the rabbit hole on Google, and I ended up getting ushered into black hole stuff and how space and time switch when in there. I had to drop that search. I can't manage that. But I did get an intuitive feeling that this is a suggestion of the nameless, formless, invisible, silent presence, where time stops and space melts away. It is in this black nothingness where molecular and atomic phenomena are disassembled and at the mercy of new creation. I have no idea what I just said. But I'm going to call on Deepak Chopra because he speaks my language. And this book is 30 years old. My daughter just picked up a new book on quantum physics or something by him, but this is from 30 years ago. Ageless body, timeless mind. Who you are depends on what world you see yourself living in. Because it is ruled by change, the first world contains sickness, aging, and death as inevitable parts of the scenery. In the second world, where there is only pure being, these are totally absent. Therefore, finding this world within ourselves and experiencing it even for a moment could have a profound effect on the process of sickness and aging, if not death itself. Einstein, you guys saying about Einstein? Einstein himself experienced episodes of complete liberation from space-time boundaries. At such moments, one imagines that one stands on some spot of a small planet, gazing in amazement at the cold and yet profoundly moving beauty of the eternal, the unfathomable. Life and death flow into one, and there is neither evolution nor eternity, only being. And sorry, but that was a quote by Einstein. Being is a very real state, existing beyond change and death, a place where the laws of nature that govern change are overturned. Death is ultimately just another transformation, from one configuration of matter and energy to another. But unless you can stand outside the arena of change, death represents an endpoint, an extinction. To escape death ultimately means escaping the worldview that gives death its terrible sense of closure and finality. This experience of this journey is located within us, and each person individually can take this consciousness of infinite exploration as far and wide and deep as they desire. We, as a collective humanity, can take the same consciousness journey as far as we are capable of. Our collective journey into the amazing potential of peace and equanimity is the totality of all of our individual efforts. But alas, we must contend with the shackles of ego. A physical body and all these human events on and of the earth. Isn't it funny how we put so much time and energy and attention on the human journey when it is just a short, finite segment of the true infinite life? Now, don't get me wrong, this human journey is very important, and you sang about it beautifully. It is to be honored and enjoyed. It is the workroom and the canvas on which our unique gifts and lessons play out. And the rest of my talk is on our earthly journey, individually and collectively. This brings me back to my little freeway revelation. Looking upon the scene out my windshield, I see signs and farms and ranches and cattle, trucks, evidence of human design. This represents our human conditions, the visible manifestations like events, technology, the pandemic, the war, the Olympics. It's all tangible and it's happening. We can see it. It has, color and shape and time. There's invisible things like the invisible wind, such as our ingrained thought patterns, social constructs, the subjective history, mass media, fear, our projections, karma, a host of other things that influence our daily manifestations, our daily lives. I call it race consciousness. And we are all walking and driving right through it all, like me in my van, which represents all that I am. Not just my possessions and my dog, my personal ego, my struggles, my whole story, and all the baggage that I have accumulated. Here I am driving through race consciousness of the American highway system, yet by just a slight shift of my vision, I can partake in a powerful, free, creative, one-mind consciousness. And I did look up at the endless sky, but this essence I'm speaking about is non-local. It is everywhere present, and it is with our thoughts and minds that we can access and experience it. I sometimes call it God, but the word has too much dogma and hierarchy attached to it. It is actually more like a law. Science of mind calls it the law of mental equivalence, the law of cause and effect, or the law of reciprocity, all sort of the same thing. And here's a picture of the teaching symbol of the science of mind. I know you can't see the detail of it, but it really sort of depicts the scene, the sky, the open, unformed substance that was unmovable, unchangeable, and it was above me and everywhere. And it descends or impresses itself into the manifestations and the objects that we create with our thinking. This is the creative potential, the creative principle, and we create all the things that we see and do since we've been walking the earth. Now, the invisible wind is this little, not little, I mean, it's these invisible things that influence us, such as, like I said, the social expectations, our fears, ageism, sexism, racism, all of these things that affect the thoughts that we're trying to manifest. They seem to sort of try to needle their way in. A very simplistic explanation. So as I was traveling through these Midwestern plains, I could picture our American pioneers bringing wagon trains of their paradigms, trying to tame the land and the indigenous people to fit into trunks of social expectations of their day. They did the best they knew at that time. They were subject to a mental atmosphere that was about man-made power, dividing and controlling nature, owning it, fencing it, branding it, and then selling it. Still happens, right? We must remember that this past journey is only a section of the infinite lifeline, and we are always at a juncture in space and time that can bring an end to a journey, a race consciousness journey, and shift it into a new direction. The past, which is only a memory, can hold painful energy in our hearts, minds, and bodies, individually and collectively. Unfortunately, we still see people scurrying around like snow in the wind on the freeway, building walls, stealing the wealth of our planet, creating chaos, and using old ways of guns to garner respect and ward off the wolves of the dark nights of vulnerability. This journey of humanity that has reactions to a society that feels threatening, needs a new consciousness. So let's bring some new consciousness to this picture. This is an invitation to an open field of healing and problem solving. Remember the saying, you can't solve a problem at the level the problem was created at? Well, also, I'd like you to remind you about when we want to change something, it is suggested to turn completely away from it itself and look at a new tabula rasa, a blank slate, and bring forth new, maybe unthought of ideas. So this is a little bit of a meditation, a visualization I'd like to end with. Feel free to close your eyes. You are in your vehicle. What does it look like? And you see before, through the windshield, a long stretch of road, huge, wide open spaces of land. There are many activities happening around you. Take a moment to fill your panorama with this worldly life. Things like forms and people, buildings, farms, cities, lakes, rivers, past, present, or future. Now imagine some of the invisible emotions, attitudes, society, expectations that swirl in and around and through all these objects. The energy of history, social messaging, past trauma, invisible, but their effects are there. Sometimes we feel like we have no control over some of those things. What kind of feelings are you having in your emotional and mental body regarding this scene? Now become aware of that you are moving in your vehicle in the direction of all these things. You can see these manifestations and you are headed right for it all. In order to avoid any accidents or crashes with people and objects, the hard body of your vehicle softens into a soft, white, grayish, fluffy cloud. And you are floated above this scene as a common cloud in the sky. Feel the weightlessness as you try to look through your own water vapory body, and you realize a sense of serenity, peace, and the light is passing right through you. Feel the cloud breathing you, expanding, contracting, floating effortlessly in the endless sky. You are at peace, but you remember you are on a journey. And one way for a cloud to descend to earth is to condense into some form of precipitation. So you release yourself onto the land, onto the freeway, onto all of these objects and activities, these thoughts and beliefs. It is like a cleansing rain or a soft snow. Tears of love, peace, and healing are released like a blanket onto the whole earth with your nameless, formless, soundless essence. Feel a complete washing away of earthly pain and trauma. Feel all divisions and separations flowing together in lakes and rivers of pure water consciousness. You have no body, no space, no time. And with a couple more breaths of that essence that you are, you may bring yourself, collect your molecules and your cells, your energy back into your body. Become aware of the room and the chair you are sitting in. Feel your breath in your body. And when you are ready, you may open your eyes. Rub your arms and legs. Impress gratitude onto this physical contraption that we are. And gratitude for the beautiful, miraculous, temporary journey that we are enjoying on this planet right here and right now. Namaste.